What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Everybody's Talking About It. We're the show where we talk about everything that everybody is talking about. On this episode, we're going to, get into some serious stuff now. It's a conversation I've been wanting to have for a little minute. And it's about the importance of forgiveness. The importance of forgiveness, not only for the other person, but for ourselves. So we can start getting some of that weight off of us that we be carrying along. Because a lot of things that we need to do is start forgiving ourselves for some things. Because we holding on to a lot of things, and it burdens, us, and we wear it. And a lot of things are out of our control. You know what I mean? There's only but so much you could do. It's only but so much apologizing you could do. It's only but so much giving to another person which you're not receiving back that you can do before you have to say, all right, I have to choose me this time. And that's the hard part that a lot of people don't, admit, where I gotta choose me this time. I just got to. So I want to get into those conversations about the importance and the heaviness, the sometimes the difficultness of forgiveness. So y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Woo!
Good.
Take a deep breath.
I'm ready.
So Chai, it's good to see you. It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I'm gonna go through it.
Everybody.
Rodney and China, Jazz, Ray, Terry, we all back. But go ahead, Chai, and go ahead and talk to just what you think about forgiveness as a whole.
Woo! Okay, so as far as forgiveness, for me personally, I feel as though forgiveness is about self. So many times it's about, like, people think that it's about giving people a pass. And I don't feel as though forgiveness is about giving people passes. I feel as though it's about understanding, you did things because you felt as though you did what you had to do for you. Whether right, whether wrong, indifferent, whatever. You're not going to do something that you feel as though is wrong. Even if I'm doing something intentionally to you that I feel as though is wrong, I'm going to feel justified in my actions on why it is that I'm doing it. So I don't know your experience on why you might feel that way, what was triggered within you, but I can't, like, for me personally, I feel as though I can't wear that. I can't be consumed in it. And I feel as though, I heard somebody say, when you can't forgive, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and that's really what I feel as though, for like, when you can't forgive and you're walking around with that resentment, it's more so like that person probably not worried about you. That person probably not thinking about you. And even if they are, that's not your concern. Like, your concern should be your inner peace. And that's really how I feel about forgiveness and moving on. It's not necessarily forgetting. It's not necessarily saying, oh, do it to me again, because that's stupid. But it is definitely being able to find your inner peace to say, I'm good, and I'm cutting the cord from all that negativity.
That's good.
I like that.
Because what is forgiveness? Like, what exactly does that mean? Because for me, I can not even really forget it, but I can just, like you said, like, let that be like water under the bridge. But I'm not going to, like, make you feel as though everything is cool. So, like, for me, I guess, like, my perception of forgiveness is different from other people's, because I will cut you off. I will not speak to you. I will act like you was never there. But I'm not going to let it, like, bother me, per se.
That's forgiveness.
I mean?
So forgiveness doesn't mean you have to continue the relationship.
That's what I was just about to say. Forgiveness does not require a relationship.
Forgiveness is about you. It's really not, like China says, it's not really about the other person. It's about what you need to do for you to move on from whatever the case is. So if that means you need to cut them off, or if that means it could just be water to the bridge and you just, interact with them differently, that's fine. That's you have to do what works for you, like she said, in order to maintain your peace. So forgiveness is really about
being petty. When I be like, okay, well, I'm not speaking.
Well, it's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
Like, I'm
bitter.
good. Like, I'm not speaking
You
to
can't
you.
be
I'm
bitter.
good off you.
Right.
right, and that's okay. But some people, they just, again, they don't realize that it's not about them. It's about you, and you have to do what works for you. If cutting them off is the best course of action, then do it. they don't have to like it. They'll get. I mean, if they get over it or they won't, doesn't matter. You've already come to a conclusion about how you feel.
Yeah, how you want to move forward.
Right, and how you want to move forward, you know, regarding that incident, that issue, that person. It's all, forgiveness is about how you feel and what you need to do to maintain your own peace.
I feel validated now.
You didn't help her be
Thank
better.
you.
Yeah, because I feel like
Because what is it for, like, for me, I was just like, well, damn, like, when people say forgive, it's like you're supposed to be all, like, hunky-dory with the person, or,
No,
you know, like,
that's not what
how
they
people
mean.
say, I forgive, but I don't forget, or I forget, I don't forgive, or whatever way it's supposed to go. But for me, when you do me wrong, and you intentionally do me wrong, or if I explain to you something that bothers me and you still do it, now I just can't look at you the same, and I'm good. Like, I'm good off of you. But some people say, like, oh, you being petty, you're not speaking to that person no more. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
See,
That ain't
Because
petty.
it's messing with
Yeah.
my energy, so
Yeah.
I'm not speaking to that person.
See,
Yeah.
I think that
Right.
I think the idea of being petty, like you mentioned, it's a fine line. But you cutting them off based on whatever took place, right? Versus you saying, okay, I'm not gonna cut them off, but I'm gonna make them suffer. That's being petty.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So like to me, like that's the difference, and it's like, well, you know what? I gotta go this way. I gotta not talk to you because I'm gonna be mean and nasty and all these things that I'm not, or that I don't want to go that route. I don't want to be petty. So cutting you off is what's gonna happen, so that none of those petty things take place.
Yeah.
So it's really
That's
just
right.
about
I
how people
have,
see
I
it.
have a listening to that,
Definitely.
but I hope before we go there, Terry, I want to get your thoughts really quick.
First, I agree with everything that was said so far, but I feel like communication is a huge part of forgiveness. Just when I think about like even like teachers like righting their wrongs, and parents, like I think that's important for them to ask their children for forgiveness if they did something wrong, or if they did something that was like just anything that you
Yeah, you
felt like
chastised
you
your
need.
child. That
Right.
you might have did that out of anger, but didn't realize that your child might have been right. And
Right.
you gotta just come back and say, hey, I'm sorry.
Sometimes there is no communication. I think that's my biggest issue with forgiveness. Sometimes, a lot of the time, there is no
Yeah, I think I
communication.
should have said communication
Sometimes
should be.
you
a
have
big
But you
part
said it
of
right on the nose.
Yeah,
That goes
sometimes you
back
have to
Jazz.
accept an apology that you were never even given.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I wanted to revisit, because I felt like somebody was going to say it until you said it, and that was communication, because that's the problem. A lot of people, it's either I'm going to cut you off, but we're not going to communicate of why this isn't working, so it's just automatically I'm supposed to assume that I did something wrong with you without you even telling me that I did something wrong, because you feel like this is the best course of action for you to cut you
Oh, I
off.
see what
And a
you
lot of people don't see that that's damaging to the relationship. So I'm going to go a little bit personal from my situation, because since this is my show, I have no reason of going and being transparent. If you're in my position, I have a family member, my sister, who doesn't speak to my family. And because of that, and communicating, because of the lack of communication, we can't get to a resolution at all of what the problem may be. So you decided to cut your mother off and say, okay, I'll make you suffer through that, and you can figure out why I'm not talking to you. Instead of saying, okay, this is the situation. This is why we can't get over this. This is why we can't get over this hurdle. Let's work this out so we can progress onto a better
Right.
relationship.
Right.
That's what
Right.
forgiveness is.
Yeah.
What you're doing then
Yeah.
becomes to the level of being petty, because then
Right.
I have to get you. This is a way to punish you.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
That's what the
I
difference
definitely
is.
feel
And-
like it's a level of maturity. with
Exactly.
I feel like it's
Um,
two sides. I'm
those
sorry,
types
two
of
sides
things.
to it. Like forgiving and asking for forgiveness, which might probably be like hard. I don't know which one would be harder. I feel like it's like both things. You gotta
Go ahead,
deal
China, because
with.
you was getting there. Hold on, Terry, because I like your point too.
Yeah, it was more so about, like, I noticed everybody has this, like, it's a growing trend of protecting your peace, and sometimes that looks like, oh, I just cut you off. Despite the fact that we probably could have had some 10-year friendship or whatever,
That's
it's like,
exactly my
oh, I just cut
situation.
you off because I'm protecting my peace. No, you're cutting me off because you're immature and you don't know how to verbalize or don't want to confront a situation in a healthy and mature way. So that conversation never happens. And like you said, it's about getting back. Like,
Yeah.
that's not, because who knows what could happen if you was to come to me and actually talk to me, because I may be doing things that I probably may not realize that I'm doing that hurt you, or we've probably grown in different directions or whatever. I'm living my life, you living your life, and I'm just doing things and you might be hurt. Oh, she not picking up the phone, she ain't calling me, she ain't doing X, Y, and Z, and I probably
Yeah.
have no idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you're
When you do that, you suffer too. If you're gonna choose like I'm intentionally cutting you off, I'm intentionally not speaking to you. If I see you, I'm intentionally going the other way. You're suffering too.
I think it's
So
It
you
takes a
call
lot of
yourself getting
energy
back
to
at
do
me,
that.
but you're suffering too. You're losing sleep too. So just confront the situation as much as you can to try to rectify it. And then if it doesn't get rectified, then that you go to the next step. But
See,
to intentionally do
that's what I-
But
that,
here's the thing,
That's
because
what
one of
I
two
had
things
to
can
do.
happen when you don't. There's death, where people die, and all of that, and all of a sudden, when that happens, all of a sudden, you're in mourning, and you can't get your shit together, you're
Yeah.
falling all out, and
Yeah.
all that, because you couldn't do one thing, and that's work it out. Then the other two is pain and guilt, and all of that hostility that you're carrying for decades, and you're passing it on to your children, because now it's affecting your offspring. Because in my case, in my family, it's affecting the grandchildren, because now we don't have the relationship with them because of the punishment.
Yeah.
Now that's a whole different dynamic that you're adding to it because of your pain. Let it go.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, let it go.
Yeah.
Because at this point,
I agree.
it's becoming a problem.
And I
It's
feel-
becoming a
But I
problem.
think, that idea of letting go, like, you know, back to like cutting someone off, like, yeah, that example that you gave, yeah, that's a direct, intentional, like, trying to hurt someone.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, there is no resolution.
Yeah.
I think we have to acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's
Yeah.
just no way
You agree
that it
with
can
that?
work. Like,
Yeah,
you know
that's
what
true.
I mean? Sometimes it's just like, you know what? I mean, because the conversation can take place, right? I could say, you did this, I did that, I don't, you know, and we're still left with.
Well, that goes
That
back
was
to
my
being redundant.
situation.
But that goes
That
back to
was my
being redundant
situation.
when somebody continuously does the same thing.
I had
Right,
a
but
friend
that-
but
for
I
mean, when people- I think when
15
people
years,
cut
and
off-
I still explained to her like what she did in the friendship. It was just like it
But
it wasn't right.
But it's
And
I think,
different.
but I think when a lot of times,
and it was still
that's what I'm
like
saying. But I
no
think
accountability.
right, but exactly.
You
But I
know?
think when you get to the point where you want to cut someone off, you usually, again, with the exception of like that being petty, like you're intentionally trying to hurt a person. If you were like doing it to like protect your peace, like that idea is, you know what, this is something that has continuously happened, continuously. How many times can I forgive you for this same action? Like, and not move on, you know?
And
so
I think
it's
that that's
definitely
based on a
double-sided.
relationship.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that
It's-
definitely is measured by the relationship. Because, for instance, and we could talk about, because it wasn't bad. Me and Rihanna, into 2020, we were not intentionally not speaking to each other. It was just, we just didn't call each other. Like, you know, it was just like, and it got to a point where we both know we're petty. So neither one of us are
Was
picking up
gonna
the
say
phone.
nothing.
Nobody want to say that. We don't have no problem. We didn't have a falling out. Wasn't an argument. Wasn't a beef. Wasn't that. We just wasn't calling each other. One day, I called her and I was just like, we gotta cut this shit out. Like, 'cause I know you wasn't gonna be the first
He
one.
really
So let me
did.
be the
He
first
really
one.
did.
And we both admitted, I miss you too. I love you. I'm sorry too. And that's just how simple it is. It's just
It's
simple.
really that
And it
simple.
But
takes
people
that.
have to be willing.
That's true.
And it
Yeah,
depends
because
on
like
the
you said,
situation.
y'all, you know,
Because
y'all
she
get-
answered the phone like it was nothing wrong. Hello?
Right, that's what I'm saying. But like, it's like that though sometimes.
But
Like,
it's
you know,
different with
you
family. I think
Yeah.
y'all speak a lot
That's what
about
I
like
was gonna say.
friendships, but I think you enter a different dimension with family. Yes, family can do the dirtiest. Yes, family can get into some of the nastiest fights. But I believe family is family for a reason. I mean, I've had falling outs with people in my family, and we may not speak for some time, but if you can't come to a resolution, I think because we're family, because we're blood, we should at least be able to say, okay, we disagree about this, but I'm never going to stop loving you. And I'm never going to stop speaking to you. I'm never going to stop checking on you. I'm never going to stop caring about your well-being. And I think because we are blood, that should be written in blood.
See, I think
I don't
that
care
applies
what
to all
we
your-
go through.
They can
I
apply
think
to all
for
your
some
relationships
people,
though.
sorry. I think for some people, like, time gets in the way of that, and it's like the more time that passes, like, you just end up, like, loving that person from a distance.
Or the harder it is to like come
See,
back from it.
Terry, that is
Just
it.
because I'm speaking
No,
about,
that's
like,
it.
a specific, like, situation to me, like,
Yeah.
something happened to me, it was, like, so tragic, I couldn't believe it, stopped talking to that person for a little while. Time passed, they came back around, I then forgot about the situation, forgave them, but then they ended up doing something like dirty again, so then it was like, you gotta realize, like, I'm not about to keep forgiving you and it's be this never ending cycle. I'ma just love you from over there. It's no like love lost, but I can't let you back into my life and me walking around on
Right,
eggshells
and
around
and
you.
But
that's
was
about
this
you.
a family
Different.
member?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I was just
Okay.
about
But
to
yeah,
say
I
that.
mean, I've had that. Like,
Because
I've had
family
falling
feel
out with family
entitled.
members.
Like, they feel entitled.
Right,
Like, you're not
exactly.
supposed to be angry with them.
Right.
For about a time.
They're not
But don't let it
supposed
be
to
so
have to
old.
And
You
then
know,
I
like,
felt
those things
bad
are
for like
important.
not talking to them for that amount of time. So I'm like, all right, it's been a year or so. I can like talk to them again, but I'm like, it wasn't the same. The relationship just wasn't the same.
It wasn't
it
the
won't
same.
be.
And
It
it
won't
don't be.
be.
And I was just about to say that, Jazz. That's always the problem. You can forgive. Y'all can try to make it work again. The relationship will just never be the same. It's almost like eating a sour tart, like a sour piece of like something that just it's like a sour taste in your mouth. It's just like every time that person come around, it's just like, why am I with you
And that's
again?
why I rather
And it's like even though you don't have no hard feelings, you just want to know why we're in the same room right now. It's that
I'm
awkward.
not a fake person. I'm
Me
like,
neither.
You can read my whole energy. Like, so I'm like,
See, like for me, I could be cordial, and like I've been in environments with, you know, like a family member that I don't speak to, and like again, there's no love lost. If God forbid something happened, I beat her today. You know, like I don't need to talk to her, talk to that person. Like I still love them.
But that's family.
But
And that's
right,
yeah.
but that's family.
Do
But
you
it's
feel like you're
I don't
being
need to
loved
do that.
from afar?
No. But the reason why it's a lot of in my family it's a lot of layers to that. So that
Of
means
course.
it's things that happened before I was even around
Yeah, you
that's
have
now
to-
just surfacing, and it's like I'm like, to be honest with you, because I'm the baby, the youngest, I'm the trigger for it all. That's what it is. It's kind of like, and you got that mother. You know what I mean? It's like we can't work our situation out because you're so focused on your new situation. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm new. I've been around for 30 years, but it's almost like that was a situation, a world of things that never got worked out. There
Right,
was
and
so
then
much
you
going
came
on.
along.
My mom lived a very, very, tumultuous, abusive life prior to that they haven't had a chance to all work out prior to my arrival.
Yeah.
So with that becoming, it was like,
Say
I
it
was
again.
like, all right, we'll sweep this under the rug because we got to deal with the baby. Now we got the baby here, and then
Yeah.
once he grows up, he has he's into talent. He has this going on. He got that going on. He's in the choir. He's in play. So it's like we can never address our issue because you have your hands full with your child, and I get
Wow.
that. I'm not naive to that. I'm not saying
But
that
it's
I'm
not your fault
me,
either.
but that's also not my
You
fault.
shouldn't have to.
And I'm willing to
Yeah.
have the conversation.
Yeah.
But when I don't have anybody to get in the ring and fight with, there's no
But
boxing
see,
match.
you know,
There's no
and
way.
I
It
completely
definitely
agree,
takes
but
two.
you know, people hurting is so powerful,
Mhm.
and people it's so hard to move past that. That's why forgiveness is so hard, right?
Yeah.
Because like the first thing you have to do is you have to have accountability for your part in it, and whoever else is involved needs to have like everyone needs to be like, okay, I handled this part differently. You know, I could have handled this differently, and you could have done this differently too. So that automatically, when that doesn't take place, that's hard. And people, and like you said, like what Terry was saying, when time passes, you are hurt. And when you think about it, the more and more you think about how much time has passed, it's really hard to come back from those things.
Yeah, it hurts.
How long though?
I think it depends on
I
the
think
person.
it's right.
Like I think it's different for everybody. I think it's how they process situations. I think it's how they learn how to cope with certain things. It's some people who probably like they are so drenched in their pain, like their pain has become so much a part of them. Like they feel like, I'm not me unless I'm not feeling this pain. Whereas it's like, yes, like some people actually have lived like that. I have actually talked to people where it's just like, it's ways to come out of your situation, but you're choosing to stay there because you just want to hold on to it, like for whatever reason. Like
Because it's
There's a mental
like,
and emotional.
dear-
That's me.
dear,
Yeah.
like
I gotta, like, for real.
Well,
it's
it's
like-
a
a
power.
comfort.
It's the want and the need for power because they feel like they have the upper hand, but when you really don't know that you're losing. You
Yeah.
want every.
But see, no, I think sometimes they do think they are. I
You
think they are
might
fully
upset.
aware that like, damn, I could be doing something different. But like, it's really a mental thing too. Like, you have to really like pull yourself out to say, okay, I need to address this,
Yeah.
or I want to address this. I'm ready to address this. And people, like you said, like with your family, all this time has passed. Things that may be beyond your control.
Mhm.
But like, at what point was I supposed to say, okay, I'm ready to talk about the things that bother me? Like, how was your sister? 30 years later, like, okay, now I'm ready. You know what I mean? Because all this time has passed where maybe she felt like she was on the back burner for, because you were here, because, your mom may be invested in the things that you were doing, because you were the baby.
Mhm.
So it's like, now, that's the whole thing now. 30 years later, it's like, okay, so now we ready to talk about it because he's a full-grown adult and, maybe he doesn't need it as much as your attention now. So, like, those are, like, some things to think about, too. Again, not your fault, but, and like you said, you're not naive to those ideas, but, like, that's hurt that you know, she probably has been holding on to because she got to be hurting to be that angry.
Mm.
You know, like she's not just mad for
No,
no reason. you know?
no.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
would
not-
say be sensitive to that too.
But
Give
here's
her
the
a
thing.
space. Give her
Here's the
space.
thing. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you why. Because I'm gonna end this shit right here. Because not the episode,
Yeah,
but right
juice.
here, and this part right here. Because what happens is, outside of how we think and how we feel, there are other people that are always going to be affected by all of our actions.
Yeah.
So whether we are the most hurt person, whether we're the most angriest person, whether we're the happiest person, whatever we do in that emotion, whatever thing we put out there, once we experience that emotion, is now geared to other people, and other people are now affected by that emotion that you're putting out there on them.
Absolutely.
And
So
we
you
don't-
don't even consciously think,
Right,
like,
right.
okay, maybe let me go ahead and just say that, or at least have the conversation, I'm not ready. You really cannot be that hurt to not be able to at least confront something with somebody else. There's
I
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
disagree.
Some people don't have the tools to do that. Like, they
Exactly.
don't know how to
And
do
then,
that.
so like,
That's
while
what
you
I'm
may
saying.
have the
What it
tools,
is.
I might not be in that space to have the tools. Especially like, you know, when you think about like people's trauma and traumatic experiences. Like, cause remember, we all have trauma. We don't know what it is. We don't know everyone's trauma, right? So like, some stuff could be happening from when they're a kid. So like Reese said, people don't have tools to say, okay, I'm not ready to have this conversation, but this is how I'm feeling right now. You know? And so I think that, you know, ideally, that's what we would want people to do.
Mhm.
But the reality of it is, everyone just cannot. And people are holding on to different things that like have nothing to do with us. You know, like I remember I was dealing with someone who was holding things against me that I didn't know were being held against me, which was so unfair, right?
Mhm.
But I'm like, well, I thought we moved on from those things,
Yeah.
but the reality of it was that that person continued to hold on to those things without my knowledge.
Right.
I
So
always-
it's like, how could we get to the point to having a conversation when I didn't even know you were holding them against me?
True.
I think that some people also some people don't know how to be accountable, and people take those experiences with them. Like, it's some people who make you feel bad for experiencing the pain that you're feeling. Like, try to justify. Like, if you come to me with a problem, then I tell you, well, you such and such and such and such, and it's like, okay, well. Like, all right, so maybe I shouldn't feel this way. Like, maybe, like, should I feel this way? Should I not feel that type
Don't
of
tell
way?
me how to feel.
And I
That's
feel,
how I feel. You
yeah,
cannot
like
tell me how
I
to
feel
feel.
like some people, like they flip. A lot of people, they jump on the defense because they want to defend themselves, so they flip things on you to the point where it's like, yo, some people don't even know how to maneuver through situations because some people have done that to them so much where they don't really necessarily know how to process, like
Well, and
know
you're
how to
not
have those
listening.
conversations to say, all right, so it's like, all right, well, I ain't even going to talk to that person because I know they're not going to hear me. They just going to jump on the defense and want to defend their position and only see things from their way. So it's a waste of time of me even saying something in the first place.
Wow,
I
that's
agree.
good.
Completely
That was
agree.
good. That's true.
I completely agree with that.
Some people don't say anything just because it's like,
They feel like, what's
what's the point? I could be talking to a brick wall. I know the person. I know who I'm dealing with. I know the personality.
Mm-hmm.
If I try to express myself, and this is what grieves me, it's only going to come back towards me.
So let me say this. If that's the case, then leave it alone. So everybody out there, stop with the back and forth emotions. If you're going to leave somebody alone, and leave them alone for good. And that goes doubly for my family. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing the back and forth. I did that my whole entire life. I am the youngest child. I've always been put in a mediated position to have to be the tug of war person, allow to this person to get the person to talk to this person, to get to talk to this person. I'm done. At this point, I'm done. I've had it. There's nothing else I can do. The forgiveness has to come within y'all. Y'all have to work this stuff out. Because I can't do it. I'm tired at this point. It's becoming frustrating because this is the time of my life, 30, where you're supposed to be purchasing homes, getting in relationships, marrying, traveling, all of that. Y'all had y'all 30s. Don't mine. That's what I'm trying to do. Because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in yours, don't be miserable in your 40s and 50s and come try to swoop me in because you think it's my turn. No, my turn is right here. Right here on this
Absolutely.
stage, and this is what I need to do to provide for myself, for my legacy, and for the things that's going to come up after me. I'm not here to figure out why you couldn't get it together today. Like, this is not it. If you got to wait until you get up there or down there for you to go figure it out, that's something you got to work out. Because I can't play that role. I can't do it. I've had enough.
Ooh, not down there.
Well, wherever you got to go, because at this role,
Facts.
let me tell you this. The Bible says, honor thy mother and father at all costs. I don't care what it is. I don't care what she did. I've got friends whose parents were prostitutes, drug addicts, and everything. They never treated their mother like shit.
Absolutely.
And it's never going to happen on my watch.
Absolutely.
Ever going to happen on my watch. Because when my mother and father close their eyes, guess what? I'm taking care of this, and I'm going to make sure that they'll be remembered and they'll be respected, and that all the things that they were supposed to have in life, they're going to get because they had the love of me at least. You know what I'm saying? I can't honestly put it in no other words than that. Yeah. Forgiveness came at a cost. I've sent out the messages. I've said what I had to say. I said my piece. I'm not begging anybody for nothing. I'm not at that place in my life no more. I've gotten there. It's forgiveness. Right. That's what it is. So I had to even forgive myself for even allowing myself to even take myself through this time and time and time again. Ever. Absolutely. That's something that you have to do. Maurice, free yourself because this is enough. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And that goes for all of y'all up here. If y'all got shit y'all dealing with, let that shit go. Let it go. Life is too damn short to be worried about who did something to you, who you did something to. Let it go. Forgive yourself. Forgive them other people. Live your life the best way you know how. Take on your dreams. Take on, accomplish your goals. Achieve them shit. Everybody else that don't want it.
Period.
Oh well. That's all you got. That's all you got. Have a relationship with your man upstairs, and that's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. I hope y'all cool. I hope y'all got a lot of these messages out here. I hope y'all understand the power, the importance of letting things go and forgiving people and forgiving yourselves too. Because that's really freaking important. And at the end of the day, this all affects, like we always talk about, mental health. Jazz, us too. It affects your mental health. It boggles you down. It boggles you. So don't let that stuff be the weight that's going to pull you down and make you sink. Rise above it. Rise above it. Be better. Do better. We'll see you next week where we have what's next week? Next week we talking about, what is the next week?
I say leave it a secret.
What is it? I don't even know what it was.
No,
No, it's Pet Peeves we going to be talking about next week. And we got a surprise guest coming. We got a good surprise guest. And we'll see you next week when we talk about the things we hate. Pet Peeves. Out.